From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, April the 12th, 2017. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer apologized last night for remarks he made earlier in the day comparing the recent chemical attack in Syria to the Holocaust.
You look, we didn't use chemical weapons in World War II. You had someone as despicable as Hitler who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
Well, Jewish organizations were shocked by Spicer's comments. Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, noted that the Nazis used the gas Zyklon B in the death camps, and that Spicer's comments implied a profound lack of knowledge on the subject of the Holocaust. CEO of the American Jewish Committee, David Harris, said, "What did the Nazis use to exterminate millions of Jews, if not chemicals, in their death camps?" Harris said the conflict in Syria is horrific, and Assad's regular use of chemical weapons decades after they were banned is abominable. But the uniqueness of the Nazi killing machine's targeting of one people, Jews, and use of chemical gases to kill them should never be forgotten. And spokesperson for German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Stefan Siebert, told reporters that any comparison of current situations with the crimes of National Socialism lead to nothing good. Well, last night Spicer apologized. He told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that he was wrong in the comparison.
I was obviously trying to make a point about the heinous acts that Assad had made against his own people last week, using chemical weapons and gas. And frankly, I mistakenly used an inappropriate and insensitive reference to the Holocaust, for which, frankly, there is no comparison. And for that, I apologize. It was a mistake to do that.
A rocket was fired at Israel on Monday on the eve of Passover. It landed in a greenhouse in the Southern Eshkol Regional Council, causing damage, and one person suffered from shock. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier in the day had closed Israel's side of the Taba border crossing with Egypt in light of concerns of terrorist attacks emanating from that region. The Prime Minister's office cited intensifying activities of Islamic State-affiliated terrorists in the Sinai region in recent months. And soon after the rocket attack on Monday, the Islamic State claimed responsibility for it. The rocket attack follows the deadly terrorist attacks in two Coptic churches in Egypt the day before. Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Tzipi Hatoveli extended condolences to Egypt. She said Israel is a partner in the fight against terror everywhere it hits and will extend a hand in order to wipe it out. The Student Senate at Tufts University passed a resolution Sunday night calling on the school to divest from companies doing business with Israel. The Tufts Community Union Senate voted 17 in favor, 6 opposed, with 8 abstaining on the resolution, which was introduced by the school's branch of Students for Justice in Palestine. It calls on Tufts to divest from Elbit Systems, G4S, Northrop Grumman, and Hewlett-Packard. The Israel advocacy group Stand With Us condemned the vote, calling it discriminatory, noting that many Jewish students were unable to attend the vote because it took place just before the beginning of Passover, and said the Senate ignored calls to postpone for that reason. The vote, while non-binding, is a symbolic measure of the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, that seeks to delegitimize the State of Israel. Meanwhile, on Friday, students of the University of British Columbia voted down a BDS measure, 1,513 members voting against, 1,396 for. Pacific Region Chair of the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs of Canada, Jason Murray, said these types of anti-Israel initiatives are at odds with academic freedom and often violate human rights codes by calling for discrimination on the basis of national origin. He said they have no place on a campus that welcomes diversity and meaningful debate. Anti-Semitic and other racist graffiti was found yesterday in the Washington, D.C. area. Swastikas and other hateful images were discovered at the Jewish Community Center of Northern Virginia. The JCC released a statement saying that we will not be deterred from our mission of being an open and welcoming place for people of all backgrounds, as we continue our operations as normal. Graffiti was also found at the Little River United Church of Christ in Annandale, Virginia, which also included swastikas as well as homophobic and Islamophobic slogans. Reverend Dr. David Lindsay told local NBC station that the hateful display was heartbreaking. Authorities were investigating both incidents. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, April the 12th. Beginning at 7 tonight, you can watch the opening plenary of the recent AIPAC National Policy Conference from Washington, featuring Israeli Ambassador to the U.S. Ron Dermer, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, AIPAC President Lillian Pincus, and Rwandan President Paul Kagame. That's followed at 9 with L'Chaim as Mark Golub sits down with Oscar-nominated Israeli filmmaker Joseph Cedar, who talks about his new American film Norman that stars Richard Gere. At 10, journalist Peter Beinart leads a discussion on the issue of the Jewish settlements. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Harvard professor Dan Gilbert talks about happiness. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, April the 12th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader.